Thank you, Jason. Parkersburg City Council is moving to shake up the Urban Renewal Authority tonight. Our Chase Campbell has the details.
The Parkersburg Urban Renewal Authority is charged with mitigating blighted properties to protect the community and encourage development. A resolution on tonight's City Council agenda seeks to reconstitute how members of the URA are selected, restructuring the board with the stated intent of bringing in greater expertise and strengthening community representation. Currently, the board consists of Parkersburg's 9 City Council members. Under the proposal, all members would be appointed by the mayor and confirmed by council. Council member Sharon Kuhl, who's the resolution's lead sponsor, says the change serves to depoliticize the actions of the URA.
The political aspect of this has got to go away. It's got to go away. Because, I'm sorry, when politics are involved and you're worried about where your next vote's going to come from, that's going to influence your decision. You can say it doesn't, but it does.
2 seats on the authority would go to members of recognized local civic organizations, and 1 would go to an existing city council member. The 4 remaining seats would be reserved for people with backgrounds in fields including banking, real estate, finance, development, or land preservation. Kuhl says this will bring much-needed expertise to the authority.
The people that have the experience with financing, with realty, with contracting, no one on city council has expertise in those fields.
The current lack of expertise, Kuhl says, has made the URA ineffective.
There has not been a URA development for 50 years in the city of Parkersburg.
Parkersburg Mayor Tom Joyce echoed the sentiment that bringing in greater expertise would benefit the URA.
People who have experience in commercial real estate development, property acquisition, the vision component, so it's certainly worth discussion.
Community organizer Casey Petrin has expressed concern with the proposed changes to the URA. Though she agrees that the URA has been ineffective, she takes issue with what she calls a lack of guardrails on who gets appointed under the proposal.
They don't specify that those are people who live in our city. They don't specify that those are people who have our city's best interests and are, interested in revitalizing our area in any meaningful way.
Petrin worries that the board could be filled with well-connected insiders who wouldn't be focused on serving the public interest.
The biggest concerns is that it's going to end up in the hands of people who, like I said, are well-connected and have a lot of money and want to buy properties at a very, very low rate at the taxpayers' cost.
Petrin also takes issue with the fact that the proposal is prepared as a resolution rather than an ordinance, noting that ordinances typically require 3 readings before passage and are subject to potential referendum. She says pushing a resolution through without more consideration robs the public of input.
They're not allowing space for that transparency, for that conversation to actually unfold.
Petrin and other concerned citizens intend to attend tonight's City Council meeting to express their concerns, wearing purple to demonstrate that their issues transcend partisan lines. In Parkersburg, Chase Campbell, WTAP News.